Hi, my name is Douglas Brown, and I'm doing Chapter 5, Cognitive Learning Theory and Observational Learning, um, which deals with latent learning, learned helplessness, insight learning, and observation. The word cognition, it has to do with the mental processes that are going on when a behavior is being learned or as it's applied. Uh, the first one we're going to look at is latent learning with Edward Tolman. His experiments had to do with rats and mazes. Basically, he had three uh, groups of rats, one control group, one that got reinforcement after it completed the maze each time, and then one that was going to get reinforcement only after the 10th day. And what Tolman thought was going to happen was the rats that got the reinforcement each time learned in a pretty standard graph like you would imagine going down where they made less and less errors each time. And what they thought was going to happen is after the 10th day that the second group would learn in the same fashion, but instead as soon as they got reinforcement they shot down and was making less errors than even the first group, uh, which shows that the rats had learned it, but that they had no reason to show it. So that's where the idea of latent learning came from. Uh, that you can learn something without reinforcement, and then that would later affect it when it became necessary. It's kind of tied in with latent memory to me, where like you remember it, but you know if you don't use it, you're not gonna remember it. Next one was Wolfgang Kohler. He did insight learning, and his experiments used chimpanzee, um, and a banana was put out of reach of the chimpanzee, and he was given a stick, and through trial and error, which was what was expected, he was able to rake the banana in, and then Kohler would put the banana a little bit farther away, which out of the reach of the stick, and then he would give him two sticks that could fit together, and the chimpanzee, uh, through insight, figured out, that it was beyond trial and error that he could put the two sticks together and then rake it in like like an aha moment. That's outside of traditional animal learning, and so insight. That's pretty much what that is. Uh, and then Martin Siegelman, he used dogs in his experiments, and it shows learned helplessness. And he would have the dogs held and shocked. It wouldn't harm them, but it was painful, and that was associated with a tone, just like classical conditioning. And he would put conditioned dogs and unconditioned dogs in a box with a partition in the middle with the tone, and as the tone played and the shock began, um, the dogs that weren't conditioned would try to leap over into the other side of the box to get away from it, whereas the dogs that had been shocked, just they showed distress, but they wouldn't even try to move, um, and that's uh, displayed learned helplessness, where the dogs had figured there was no way to get away from the shock, so there's nothing they could do, so they just accepted it, even though it was painful. Um, and then on to observational learning with Albert Bandura, and he had a Bobo doll. It's this punching bag clown, and children would have a model in a room, a person, and the model with two groups of children. One group would be exposed to the model, playing peacefully and not being aggressive towards the doll, and then the second group, the model was aggressive towards the doll, hitting it and stuff like that, and then left alone and without prompting. The first group followed the behavior and didn't hit the doll, and the second group did. Um, and there's AM, IM is some letters to help you remember the four elements of observational learning. It's attention, memory, imitation, and motivation. Basically, you have to pay attention to the what you're observing, the model. You have to remember it. Then you have to be able to imitate it, and then you have to have motivation for doing so. As far as affecting the community in a larger way, I think that the watching violence on TV and the exposure to it not only desensitizes children and everyone, it's also a form of observational learning, and the some of the things where if you see the punishments of some of these bad behaviors, I think is important, because if you don't show the reactions, like say, take for example the shootings in Aurora, uh, showing all the grief that this person has caused is important, because otherwise you would have more copycats. I feel his punishment should be well uh, displayed by the media, as well as the suffering that he's caused, just to try to break, because otherwise you would have copycat reactions. I feel. And that's it.